On this day, May 5th, 1847, the Court of Fort Sutter, acting under the legal power of the two great authorities, the Mexican government and the U.S. of A., is now in session. Presiding as judge and commander of the fort, Governor of the Helvetia, Alcalde by official appointment, the Honorable John Augustus Sutter.
Well spoken, Sheriff.
Mr. Reed, though you are no attorney, I understand you'll act as counsel for the accused.
So far as I am able to call it.
Mr. Keysburg, have you still found no one to act as counsel?
Alcalde, I must counsel myself.
It may put you at a sizable disadvantage, sir. Surely there is someone about this court.
There is no one.
It is folly to go this business alone.
After being alone in hell, I become well acquainted with the climate of that region. I look on this as a summer holiday.
Very well, sir. As you will have no other way, you may prosecute your own case.
No. Good, it favors us.
Gentlemen, as magistrate for this trial, lacking a jury, my judgment will be final. Mr. Keysburg.
Yeah.
Mr. Reed.
Agreed.
We are called here today to prosecute a slander case. Sheriff, describe the complaint.
The parties mentioned, please rise. In this trial, Keysburg versus Eddie and Foster, the injured party, Louis Keysburg, charges the following persons with defamation of character: William Eddy and Bill Foster.
Put these men under oath.
Gentlemen, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
Be seated. And let me remind you, gentlemen, the oath once taken is binding throughout the trial. Continue, Sheriff.
The plaintiff, Mr. Louis Keysburg, is seeking
Damages. Try damages.
is seeking damages and restitution of $1,000.
Oh, Christ almighty, that's a fortune!
We don't make that in jail.
Quiet! Under oath, Mr. Keysburg has declared that these two individuals, on various occasions around this court, have called him corpse hunter and carrion vulture. Also, they have accused him of being a thief, a robber of the dead, and being directly responsible for the deaths of the two little ones, George Foster and James Eddy, the children of the accused.
Mr. Reed, you have heard the charges. How do the defendants plead?
With regard to calling Mr. Keysburg corpse hunter and carrion vulture, we make no response at all. That does not constitute slander.
And the basis for your thinking?
Well, those words refer to the act of feeding off the dead. Mr. Keysburg does not deny committing such acts, and these defendants in no way condemn him for doing so. How could they, when they themselves were forced to the same extremity? Indeed, Alcalde, most of the survivors had to sustain themselves in that way in order to come out alive.
Then all adversaries agreed. The use of the dead is not at issue.
Agreed.
You have still to respond to the other charges. Those accusing Mr. Keysburg of robbery and murder.
They do admit having made such accusations.
Then they admit to being guilty.
Not guilty.
You see, Alcalde, these statements are not slander, but the truth.
These are serious charges, sir. Are these men prepared to advance convincing proof?
We seek that opportunity, sir.
Mr. Keysburg, surely you must be aware of the gravity of these charges and the consequences to you should they be proven true.
I would be tried for murder.
The punishment for that in these parts, sir, is hanging.
The hangman's rope can be a terrifying threat, as we both know, Sheriff. But I put my trust in the justice of the court.
Very well, sir. Then you are prepared to prosecute this to its natural end.
I am. My honor leaves me no choice. I must.
Then let the trial begin. Let me remind you, gentlemen, we are not called here today to judge the other members of the Donner Party, not the living or the dead. The issue at hand, plain and simple, is that of slander. Mr. Keysburg, your first statement.
Herr Burgermeister, 10 days ago, I was the last one to come out. I rescued no one, only myself. My single achievement, if we can call it such, is that I survived. I am no hero. Whereas here we have 3 splendid heroes. Earlier on, James Reed went out on his own. And as everyone knows, he was first to bring word of our trouble to you, Herr Burgermeister, at this fort. Some weeks later, William Eddy and Bill Foster, as members of the snowshoe party, succeeded in making their escape. Because I could not follow in their heroic footsteps, because I could not come out until months later, it pleases them to make Louis Keseberg into an outcast. With malice and spite, these heroes left me back there to die.
That is not true.
They were convinced that without their heroic help, that I would have to perish. Regrettably, I dared to disappoint them. They hate me for that. And now, by their slander, they mean to ruin me. I am no longer under any obligation to prove my charge. Just moments ago, Herr Sutter, in your presence, these men freely confessed to slander by calling me robber and murderer. Very well then, let them prove it. If I am innocent and they are guilty, you must pay the penalty. If I am guilty, then you may order a new trial and take my life. And welcome to it. It is for you to decide.
Mr. Reed.
Alcalde, ultimately we will prove that this man, Louis Keseberg, is guilty of those crimes described and crimes of greater magnitude. Back there in the snow with no proper law by which to govern ourselves by, this man transgressed against his own kind. To begin with, he deliberately stayed behind at the settlers' camp on Lake Truckee rather than risk his life in coming out so that he might rob from the dead. Then, finding himself without food and fearing starvation, he plotted and carried out the murder of 2 helpless children, the only sons of these men here. Then, for reasons that can only be described as unnatural and depraved, he killed the wife of our chosen leader, Mrs. Tamsin Donner. No! We shall demonstrate that these deeds were carried out by design, not out of necessity, mind you, but by choice.
What choice?
To the degradation of his own humanity, to the damnation of his immortal soul, this man embraced evil. And once his transgressions have been exposed here and established beyond denial, we will demand in this court that he be put to death.
You may call your witnesses. Mr. Reed.
As our first witness, call you.
Excuse me, Herr Burgermeister. I forgot to present this. I've been accused of malingering at Lake Truckee for some criminal purpose. The charge is false. In no time was it possible for me to leave that place. I was unfit. As evidence, I offer a sworn statement written and signed by Mr. Patrick Breen, a respected member of the Donner Party.
Read it aloud, Sheriff.
If I can. Looks like he just learned how to write. I, Patrick Breen, age 40, born in Ireland, but of sound mind, make the following declaration of my own free will. One day last winter, to be precise, on October 25th, 1846, Mr. Louis Keseberg hurt his foot real bad. We were getting ready to leave Truckee Meadows on our way to the lake. Mr. Keseberg went out hunting after geese. Being a poor shot, I don't believe he got any. After a spell, we saw Mr. Keseberg come limping out of the surrounding brush. It was clear the man had stepped down a steep bank and landed in some willow stubs.
Just so.
For a long time after that, I've never seen the gentleman walk any distance on account of the before-mentioned injury. With all due respect, Patrick Breen.
Clearly, I was in no condition to leave that place.
Mr. Reed, your first witness.
As our first witness, and call it we call Mr. William Eddy.
Mr. William Eddy.
William, please introduce yourself.
My name's Will Eddy. I hail from Illinois, same as you and Bill Foster. I'm a carriage maker by trade. And all of us started out from Springfield. I had a family. My wife Eleanor and my 2 children. I don't have them anymore.
First group to escape Lake Truckee and make it over those mountains. 15 heroic men and women had to make snowshoes in order to get through those drifts.
Called ourselves the Snowshoe Party.
The reason so many survive is mainly due to your efforts as a leader.
I take no special credit.
You should. More than once your group was ready to give up, to lie down in the snow and die. Toward the end, it was you who went on alone. A collie with feet all bloody and swollen, this man walked the remaining miles to this fort. Behind him, with every footprint, he left a trail of blood, later used to locate the others left in the snow and waiting to die.
According to my diary, the snowshoe party did not reach the fort till January 17th. How much time was spent in coming out?
1 month.
A month to traverse 50 miles.
Accordingly, these men had never been in the mountains before without having a proper map or compass.
We lost our way.
But when we first heard of the predicament from you, Mr. Reed, we sent 2 of my best Indian lads back to the lake to guide the rest out. With them to show you the route, how was it possible to get lost?
Well, then, gods, those Indians, they died soon after we started out.
Proceed, sir.
William, how well did you know Mr. Keysburg?
Well enough considering his family and mine had been part of the Donner Party wagon train for nearly half a year.
So between the time Keysburg first hurt his foot and the time you departed with other members of the snowshoe party, a period of 7 weeks, were you not able to observe him?
I had such opportunity.
Give us your impression as to the seriousness of his injury.
I don't deny he hurt his foot. He had some difficulty getting about, no question. But that was mostly in the beginning, before he and Boston took off with the snowshoe party.
When both of you returned to the lake in mid-March, this time as members of the 3rd Relief, was Mr. Keysburg still disabled?
I believe he was all mended, just putting on a pretense.
So you judged him able-bodied enough to go back over the mountains with you?
There was never any doubt in my mind. 4 different relief parties came to lake over a period of months. He could have left with any one of them if he wanted to. It was clear he had a private reason not to.
Thank you, Mr. Eddy. Captain Sutter?
Mr. Keysburg, your turn with the witness.
I have no questions for this man just now.
You may go back, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Reed, your next witness.
Calling as our next witness, we call Mr. Bill Foster.
Bill Foster.
What do you mean you won't? You have to, you came to sue us in court, not to give sworn testimony.
Please, Apollo, we should use just a moment here.
Bill, we need you to confirm any statement.
I'm not about to, so just drop it.
Can we ask why you refused?
You don't press me anymore, mister, and I will quit this trial. I don't mind to anyway.
Gentlemen, the court awaits.
Perhaps Mr. Keysburg has a witness of his own he'd like to call.
Yeah, my wife.
What's her testimony worth?
The woman has a right to be heard.
Mrs. Philippine Keysburg. Mrs. Keysburg, place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very well. Yes.
Since we are husband and wife, Dina, it would be natural for you to be my constant companion on the journey. And then afterwards, in early November, before the departure of the snowshoe party, tell the court something about our circumstances there.
At the lake, we were 60 people. Once we saw that we would have to spend the winter there, everyone hurried to cut down trees and make shelter.
How many shelters did we put up?
3.
How were the families divided?
The families of William Eddy and Bill Foster shared one place. Mrs. Reed and her children formed a temporary alliance with the Graves family, and the Patrick Green family occupied the 3rd.
Where did you and your family stay, madam?
Since my husband was not fit for such hard work, we had begged the favor of the Green family, and they permitted us to use the outside of one wall. We put up animal hides on poles. How do they call it, Louis?
A lean-to.
Yeah, a lean-to, without doors or windows. We lived like that in darkness. No better than animals. It is a miracle we are here at all.
Where did the Donner family stay?
They were not with us at Lake Truckee.
They set their family tents up 6 miles away at the place called Alder Creek.
Was there some reason for this move?
They feared that others brought to starvation first would try to rob them of their food.
Just so.
Then none of you tried to combine your provisions at first to deal with this matter more charitably.
What charity?
From first, Herr Sutter, it was each family for itself. Now, wife, I should like you to describe the condition of my injury.
Your foot was red and swollen, infected. We tried to cure the foot by soaking it in hot water at least 1 time each day, sometimes more often. And one time I helped you cut open the wound with a knife, but you were in much pain always.
To your knowledge, was I able to move or walk about at all?
Nein, for certain not.
No doubt, towards the end of February, you remember leaving the lake camp.
Yeah, Mrs. Reed and myself, we went out with the first relief party sent from this fort. In all, 18 people. I felt bad about leaving you behind, Burris. A proper wife does not do this.
And yet you did. Why?
Our little one, the baby. He died 2 weeks before. We had to think of our daughter, Ada. You agreed, Louis. You wanted us to go.
Why did I not go out with you?
How could you, when you could not walk? It was not possible.
Perhaps I was exaggerating my condition in order to remain behind.
Madness. The only chance for life is getting out. At the lake was only death. Only a madman would stay back.
Thank you, my dear. Mr. Reed.
Madam, how can you be certain that your husband was not able to walk?
How? I have eyes. The man never left his bed. He stayed inside with me all the time.
No doubt he would and did. However, except for the necessity of having to go out and cut firewood, everyone was confined indoors because of the fearful cold.
That is true, but with
Isn't it also true that with firewood being unusually scarce, the warmest place would be bundled up in bed?
that is also true. However,
So you never had a decent opportunity to judge your husband's condition.
Nine. He stayed inside with me all the time. Why should he think to go out?
Why indeed? Madam, was your husband not angry at certain members of the party, myself and George Donner, who were in charge?
Angry.
Did he not blame us for all his troubles?
He was not like that. Not Louis.
Not the sort of man to nurture thoughts of revenge against those he hated?
Never.
And yet now, in an episode between me and a drover named John Schneider, he urged the others to hang me. Was this a sign of his forgiving nature?
Please, my wife is not on trial.
Macaulay, I am just trying to establish this man's extreme hostility.
On the contrary, Mr. O'Brien.
Madam, deny your husband was eager to see me lynched.
There were others just as eager, Harry.
Then you admit he desired my death.
My God. The man is half a cripple. All our belongings, everything we have is no more. We have become like the poorest of beggars.
You are alive, madam, and apparently well enough.
You dare speak to me of a life as well after leaving my 2 children in the snow?
And you blame me for that?
Who else but you? You and your unnatural pride to be frozen like ice in the snow. To have to watch my kinder starve before mine eyes with no hope of escape. And all because of your uncontrollable vanity and conceit. Some talk of God's judgment, and others blame the snow. That is not so. We suffered only because of your wrong thinking. Back at Fort Bridger, we took the Hastings route. The road straight to hell, because you influenced their Donner.
It was the nearer way.
Nearer, sir, but not safer.
Everyone knew it. We put it to a vote.
Even Mrs. Donner was not pleased with the decision. The presence of wives and children should make any man cautious, but not you, Herr Reed. Because of your mood of the moment, we had to pay the full price with precious lives. Because your Nerove brought so many innocent ones into early graves.
I meant no harm.
There is no comfort in that, sir.
If everything could be done over again, only this time it would cost my life, I would give it gladly.
Then let that be your final epitaph.
Ma'am!
Philippine. Pina.
Christ almighty, Jesus.
You let that German bitch kick your ass black and blue.
I hardly planned that way.
Mr. Reed, in the future, keep your remarks to the purpose of this trial.
You have my humble apology, Calvin.
You did not dismiss Mrs. Keysburg. Should you call her back?
Some other time,
More
perhaps.
like some other trial.
Mr. Keysburg, I trust your wife has recovered?
Yeah, she is fine. I wish to apologize for the disruption and delay.
Gentlemen, if it is not too great an inconvenience, might we continue now?
Certainly.
Would it be possible for me to testify, Herr Bürgermeister, to tell my story?
Certainly, sir. Mr. Reed, you may question when he has finished.
There are some who choose to think that because of the terrible circumstances, the snow being such a hazard, 30 feet deep, that I was afraid to risk my life in such a perilous crossing. I was frightened, to be sure, but my fear of going was nothing compared to my terror of having to stay behind. I've also been accused of remaining behind for some criminal purpose. They say I was there for a desire of comfort or safety. What safety or comfort was there? The shed we lived in was not fit for pigs, let alone for people.
But when your wife went out with the first relief party, did you not leave the lean-to and move to the Foster-Ready cabin?
Yeah, the Foster-Ready cabin. They had gone out 2 months earlier on their snowshoes, leaving us behind to starve. My companions were little children and Mr. Foster's mother, a helpless old lady. That cabin, without the light or fresh air, always cold. In such a place, we lived in our own filth. It was easier to die in that place than to stay alive. For food, we had old leather hides. They had to be boiled for hours before they could be swallowed and digested. There were some who chose to starve rather than to eat such dung. I would choose 1,000 deaths in the snow and do so happily before stay one day longer than necessary. But my injury left me no choice.
For the record, your incurable injury.
Since you will not be convinced by my words alone, Henry, let me remove my shoe. I shall put my own foot on display.
Mr. Keysburg, Mr. Reed, we have used up enough time discussing Mr. Keysburg's lower extremities. Might we move upward and hopefully onward?
Certainly. Mr. Keysburg, were you on friendly terms with the Donner family?
I was
With regard to Mr. Donner?
most friendly with Mrs. Donner. In our 6-month journey, we had many pleasant conversations. She would tell me how she had plans to establish a girls' school in California. In those days, we had such high aspirations.
Now, of course you knew how well off they were.
I knew they were not poor.
Surely you must have known they were carrying a sizable fortune with them. Gold and silver and coins, not to mention thousands of dollars in paper.
There were such rumors.
I suggest you decided quite logically to stay on longer at the lake. To bide your time until those Donners were either dead or gone.
Lies.
Then, when they were out of the way, when there was no one left to hinder you, you saw your chance to steal and you took it.
Louis Keysburg is no grave robber. He does not wait for friends to die so he can rob from their corpses.
These are serious accusations, sir. You have proof.
This man did such things before, Calde. Why not again?
You would not say so.
I just did, mister.
If it is your intention to give testimony, sir, it must be under oath.
Willingly.
Very well. You may make your statement, Mr. Keysburg. You may question when we finish.
Swear you place your left hand, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. The incident occurred while we were crossing the Great Plains, somewhere along the Platte River. We were passing through the ancient burial grounds of the Sioux. The bodies of the dead Indians were on raised platforms all around us. You can well imagine our mortal fear when we discovered Keysburg had stolen the buffalo robe.
This robe you say I took, stole, was it not returned?
Aye, then it was, but only after we'd held counsel and threatened to turn you out.
Then you freely admit, for this small offense.
Small offense!
For this you plotted against me, tried to have me and my family banished.
You're a thief and that endangered the entire party.
You're a shortcut. Did it not endanger the entire party?
You provoked others to lynch me.
You weren't them who cast me out.
But I was the one who got cast out.
Did you not deserve it? When you lifted your hand in blind rage, you drove the measure to the heart that
You little bitch, I ain't cause! He tried to kill me!
In my taking that robe, I had cause. My children were called.
Gentlemen! You will behave in a more suitable manner, or you will face a heavy fine. Now sit down. Mr. Keeper, we are not here today to put James Reed on trial, or to tarnish the reputation of these other men. They went back into the snow to rescue others. What they did is upon record, and few among us can hope to equal them. The charges we are concerned with, sir, are defamation of character. Your character.
Herr Sutter, we could have some time to collect ourselves.
Perhaps that would ease everyone's disposition. This court will reconvene in 1 hour. You're all free to go.
That's 1 hour, gentlemen.
Cheeseburger.
What?
Early this morning, we got word from a special witness. He's bound to arrive at any time.
It does not interest me.
It should, German. We wait for family like ropes. You put the rope around your neck, vulture.
That's enough, Eddie, that's enough.
Human. Humano. Human. Mein schlecht human.
Leave this place. Escape, there's still time. You can only have one way.
You believe I'm guilty?
I know you're guilty.
You seek my death. Why urge me to save myself? James, when you came back with the second relief, you fed me. You bathed me. You gave me hope. And then you left me back there to die.
That is not true.
Before leaving me to become partners with the dead. Why did you not just kill me?
Real and not justifying, you're making yourself look like a damn coward.
Think what you like, Eddie. I am no coward. I am no fearless cheeseburger.
Then take the stand and speak
Where
out.
does it end? Didn't I make the right to notify Fallon? Surely he can do the rest.
Fallon may not get here in time. Me not come at all. Bill, you were there when they took
So
Keithburg
the
out.
sheriff put him on the stand.
McKinstry's with the court. He can't get involved.
Neither can I, Eddie.
Bill, without your testimony, would you witness there on that final relief? Kingsburger's likely to walk away free.
Then I say let him go. And good riddance.
We lost our young ones out there. Our boys! Or have you forgotten?
I don't seem to be able to forget much of anything, Eddie. Much as I keep trying. Excuse me for saying it straight out, Ray, but except for you and Yorn, we all lost loved ones, Cheeseburg included. Christ, James, making our way over the mountains that last time. I was with the
None of this matters.
Hold on. Bill, if there's something you think I should know, let's have it.
Coming out with Fallon a couple weeks ago, we stopped to rest at a place used as a campsite by one of the earlier parties. Keithburg decided to make some coffee. He started a fire until his coffee pot was snowing. Me and the sheriff were waiting around for the water to heat up. That's when we noticed it.
Notice what?
Just a bit of cloth. A torn strip sticking out of the snowbed. Keithburg seemed to recognize it from somewhere. I watched him as he went over to it, this crazy look on his face. He bent over and took a hold of the cloth and gave it a strong pull. Jesus, James, it fell right into his arm.
What did?
The body of his little girl! Left there by his wife when she came out long before.
Damn, that's how he found out?
He just held on to her, like a block of ice, rocking her in his arms.
I consider it God's will.
However much we lost, so did he!
This kind of talk only weakens us. We are getting why we are here, to destroy